Always know that you'll be safe. I'll be here throughout your days. Come find me and we will play. Here throughout your one of us is out of line. Although you say you can prove more, I can feel it down to my core. In a world where our words go, I sit and believe what I'm told. But in this blue world filled with bones, I'll just keep dancing on my own. It's a useless waste of time. I don't care what's on your mind. The truth was never for us to find. We could lock horns all day, but really who cares what we say? We will be lost before we fade. I can almost hear it cry, this feeling you somehow deny. Just how do you fail to heal the roaring, grinding of your gears? As you dictate the laws, your future self honors the flaws. And some of us who are awake watch as you are fixing your mistakes. By along the stand, the subtle movements of the land. Within the limits of these chains, there's only so much to explain. Whether you will find this wall, the one that's infinitely tall. And as we move the hour around, are we just dancing in the sand? It's a useless waste of time. I don't care what's on your mind. The truth was never for us to find. We could lock horns all day, but really who cares what we say? We will be lost before we fade.
Okay, guys, sorry about that. We are into game number 1, Champ Select here between Team Yuggurt and Team Wild Jokers, who are taking up the blue and red sides respectively. My name is Blaster Boy. You are now watching Learning Fives. Apologies again for the delays. We had a few roster issues across the board, and so we had to swap some players in and out, bring in some subs, and figure out who exactly was playing for everyone. But we are about to get into the action here. As Champ Select has started, the bans are already coming through. We are 4 in so far. And we see Graves and Rengar taken off the table, as well as Elise, so a lot of jungle focus already across the board from both of these teams here, in addition to this Katarina also being taken off the table as well from Team Wild Jokers. So, not wanting to deal with some assassins here, similarly continuing that trend on the side of Yuggurt with the Talon takeaway, and now a Kog'Maw ban as well. Now, you may have noticed I'm the only one talking so far. That's because I'm solo casting right now, but it is perfectly fine. We're going to get through this, no problem. Lulu is the first pick up here for Team Yuggurt, so it's a pretty powerful pick. It's something that is pretty highly preferred by the support of Yuggurt and Leica. So this is, going to be a pretty comfortable pick for her. And I'll be interested to see what this is paired with. The Kog'Maw taken off the table, it's really no surprise that it was when the Lulu is left open. Although I maybe would have like to see the other half of that Juggernaut combo taken away. I would have rather seen the Lulu ban, as it's becoming more and more popular right now, more and more common, and it's very powerful and in some cases kind of difficult to deal with. You have to be willing to really push for an all-in kind of early on in order to keep her contained. Otherwise, she's just going to poke you around and she's just going to buff up her ADC in the endgame, really regardless of the position that she's put in by items. Now, we are seeing some other picks come through here, namely the Lucian and Victor for the side of Wild Jokers, and these are two pretty comfortable picks for their ADC and mid laner as well. So it'll be interesting to see how they end up performing on this. The Victor is the most picked champion for the mid laner in Pyro on the side of Wild Jokers this entire season. So this is something that he is very, very comfortable with, something he has quite a lot of history on, and hopefully it's something that he can deliver quite well with in terms of winning his lane and being able to push that lead around the map. But he's going to be matching up to a Vladimir from the looks of it in the hands of Infinity Lulz. So could be a pretty interesting matchup. I feel like it could be kind of difficult for the Victor. The Vladimir will similarly be pushing in constantly, and Vladimir has a lot of freedom in also being able to go in and push the wave with one of his spells and also get damage on you as well. And Vladimir has incredibly superior sustain and kill pressure of his own in this mid lane. So it will likely come down to a skill matchup here, as the champions are kind of at odds with each other, I feel. But Gragas is picked up for Omniscient in the jungle for Yuggurt. And on the other side, we see Zac and Karma locked in now. So Karma definitely a formidable opponent or ally in the bottom lane as well in that support role. She can poke and buff up her ADC pretty similarly to the Lulu, although not quite to the same extent in all situations. She's still definitely a force to be reckoned with and really complements the aggressive nature that we will likely be seeing from Bunu. Man, I can't get this name out. Buse? Let's go. I'm going to drop the letter there and go with Buse, because that is way easier for me to say. Apologies if I'm completely butchering that. I don't know why I can't get it out. But Gnar and Caitlyn on the opposite side. So this is going to be a pretty poke-oriented lane from the side of Team Yuggurt in the bottom lane, with Caitlyn Lulu very safe, very defensive, but also capable of really putting the aggression on, and they're going to have their work cut out for them with this Lucian Karma lane if it is played to its max potential, or if the play style really clicks correctly here with with this Lucian Karma, then we could see them deliver quite a beating to Upper X and Leica, but we'll have to see. Honestly, it's going to be kind of difficult to figure out just looking at Champ Select, honestly. So we'll have to wait until we get onto the Rift, but I want to talk about this top lane a little bit. This seems like it's just straight up a lane advantage for Netidark in the top lane on the Gnar versus this Nautilus that was locked in last for meta. So pretty brave pick of that Nautilus, I feel, as there is potential for him to just completely solo kill that Gnar pretty early on. But if the Gnar is played in the way that he should be played, and using that range advantage, using that Mega Gnar for kill pressure, or just to be incredibly tanky and really take the fight toe-to-toe with a big tank like the Nautilus or similar champions, then this is just going to go completely in Netidark's favor. It will be very interesting to see what the ultimate result is here. We got quite a few interesting lanes. The bottom lane and mid lane are two really big ones for me, because those are pretty much pretty similar and both pretty safe in exactly what they want to be doing. The mid lanes in particular are very similar. The bot lanes maybe a little bit more opposites of each other. One, Caitlyn Lulu wanting to really play defensive, Lucian Karma really wanting to play aggressively. But they can both kind of deliver on either of those fronts throughout the lane, depending on how they end up having to play it, depending on jungle pressure, which will be incredible coming in from both Gragas and Zac. So there's a lot of different things that we have to take into consideration here, guys. But for right now, I think I'm going to throw it over to some music while we load onto the Rift, and we will be back with game number 1 between Team Yuggurt and Team Wild Jokers. You are watching Learning Fives. Do not go anywhere. Alright guys, welcome onto the Rift for game number 1 between Team Yuggurt and Team Wild Jokers. My name is Blaster Boy and I am going to be solo casting for you guys today. This is Learning 5. This is the first show match of week number 2. It's an NA show match in an EU time slot generally, so pretty interesting situation overall. And speaking of interesting, we've got quite a few interesting matchups here, as we talked about a bit in Champ Select. This mid lane is one that I'm definitely going to be putting a lot of focus on personally. The bot lane as well. I mean, really all of these roles and lanes have the chance to be very, very high impact. But the mid lane in particular, I feel like could determine a lot, as Victor and Vladimir are both incredibly formidable mid laners with incredible amounts of power in the later parts of the game, and if either of them really gets rolling, there's the chance that they just completely steamroll their opponent throughout this game and are able to carry the game to a pretty near victory on their own if they end up playing it out pretty well. And I mean, this is one of the higher elo matches that we've seen from in the Learning 5s program this session, as far as I'm aware. So this should be a pretty good match as we see these buff starts coming through. Pretty typical. The junglers starting at their buffs with the bot lane's help is pretty much standard at the moment. Maybe not so much what you see in pro play, but at least in things like solo queue, such and stuff like that, you're going to see this quite a lot. It's just the most consistent and easy leash. It's much quicker than a top laner's leash, or much healthier, because you can get twice as much damage down just by virtue of having twice as many people. So we see this bot lane start maybe a touch late, as they both gave pretty heavy leashes, but nobody missing out on a single creep quite yet. However, there is a huge wave advantage here for the side of Yuggurt, as we see these constant pilt over Peacemakers and autos from the Lulu, and the reason that they're doing that is so they can shove this lane, maintain a minion advantage, and get that level 2 early, as we see that pop here. You have to get to around 10 or so creeps in the lane before you hit level 2, if I'm recalling correctly. So we saw that here. Now this level 2 advantage completely gone, not able to put too much aggression down, and Buse is, well, taking it to them. Taking it to this duo lane of Yuggurt, trying to find that aggression already early on, helped out by that Karma. But, I mean, Lulu doing a lot of work here, popping that Thunderlords, taking a beating in return for the first real time this lane on one of her trades. That's definitely going to be something you have to be careful of, but now Prince actually caught out in the river here, a little bit over aggressive in the end. Infinity Laws caught out by Pyro. Huge health advantage here, but I mean, Vladimir is sort of a drain tank carry, so maybe that doesn't matter all that much. No kills end up coming from it. Ultimately, it is actually kind of an uneventful trade in the end. I mean, there was a huge potential for that to be very explosive, but Prince and Omniuscent both just simply burn their flashes and go their separate ways in the end. Man, there was a huge potential for that to be 1 or 2 kills there for either across the board, really. But now, oh, Meta maybe overextending here. Pretty good hook onto Omniescent, gets that Courage of the Colossus shield, but I don't think it's going to be quite enough as the flash comes in for Nedark, but it's not enough, the hop rather, to get him under turret. The flash to try to get him out, he falls in the end, and ultimately that's a pretty good turnaround. Again, flash for flash, and the kill goes over to the side of Yuggurt first with an assist and first blood bonus. Buse going in onto Upper X, taking his health very, very low. Now here comes Nedark, Man, I've just been saying his name completely wrong, haven't I? Netadark burning his teleport, trying to get down to the bottom lane enough to stop the aggression rather, from the side of Wild Jokers. But it's not enough to get him anything. He just calls it off, instead takes that lower cooldown, but having that teleport on cooldown, maybe not the best thing, but he ultimately is pretty even with meta in terms of that cooldown in the end. Plus he has the gold advantage now, ever so slightly. Able to get a refillable potion now. I believe he started with that Doran's Blade, so he got Longsword and a Ruby Crystal, and he has a Control Ward as well, and there's a lot of armor on the side of meta, so he's going to be very tanky and much more resilient in this lane. It's likely going to take another gank from Omniescent to really result in a kill here anytime soon. But we will see how this ends up going. Meta, walking forward like that and just taking free damage is really not the best way to do it. Getting a little bit of a trade onto this Gnar. I mean, that's really all you can afford to do as the Nautilus if you don't want to be burning all of your mana constantly and trying to hook in every single time you look for an engage. Then you just kind of have to take that walk up, and your passive does a pretty measurable amount of damage. It's very respectable. So definitely something that needs to be looked out for. There is that hook engage onto Netadark there, and I mean, this is already level 6 for meta. Having a very slight XP advantage, it seems. Not entirely sure where that came from, honestly, as Netadark got that kill onto meta first, so he should have gotten XP, but I didn't think that meta would. Maybe that's not exactly how that works. Maybe if you do get the kill, you get the XP regardless. Nice attempt on the traps, but Infinity Law's taking a beating in this mid lane. Really not able to stand up to Pyro right now, who started with that Doran's Ring. I mean, pretty standard. The Doran's Shield was picked up from Infinity Laws. It's kind of freshly changed. It was changed a few patches ago. It now makes you a bit tankier, and well, at least if that change went through, honestly, I get it all mixed up sometimes. Reading so much PB, sometimes it's easy to lose track of what exactly has gone, what exactly makes it to live and what doesn't. I know there's another look at Doran's Shield on the PB right now, looking at the mid-season changes, but that is very much in the future. So right now, right here, right now, we are looking at Upper X taking quite a lot of damage from this Karma, and she is doing some work. I've got to say, Leica has been doing incredibly well as well, but I mean, you can't really argue that these Karma Qs are just constantly hitting for pretty significant chunks of damage. But carrying on in this game as Prince looking for a gank down bottom onto Leica with the Elastic Slingshot. Upper X now caught out in the front lines of this fight as Buse flashes forward unfruitfully. In the end, it is in vain. The commitment not quite paying off. Only the heal burn from Upper X, which, I mean, still technically makes it worth it to burn a summoner, but with it only being that heal for the flash abuse, that is really not great in the end for Wild Jokers. They got to be looking for. They've got to. Buse has to calm down a little bit. I feel as meta is going to be completely caught out here. The cask is available, but there's the depth charge going to keep him back. The cask not quite delivering on what it needed to, and there's the shield coming through from meta, looking to turn this around. Netadark is incredibly low, and he will not quite fall. Pops into the Mega Gnar just in time. Spanky, rather. Taking a little bit of damage in this bottom lane, and trade with Upper X, but now his health will be on a downward trend. Spanky still walking forward, really just walking up and taking a lot of autos. Very clean dive up top, but now Pyro wants to make something of it for his team. That's a great stun, and the Chaos Storm is available. He's holding on to it. I don't know if that's really the best decision. You could chase him off in the end, but he gets the kill by baiting him in just far enough. What a great turn from Pyro, the patience to hold that Chaos Storm until Omniscient had no way out. Very, very smart play from him. And honestly, according to the sign-up sheet at the very least, these teams were kind of one-sided. Yuggurt had, if I'm recalling correctly, a pretty significant rank advantage, or not an insignificant rank advantage at the very least in general. Maybe it's some of the subs balancing it out, maybe it just didn't really exist, but this is a pretty close game right now. It's going either way. You can't really call it one way or another at this point, as it is only 300 gold separating these teams at the moment. Carrying on though, that was an incredibly clean dive. I want to touch back to that real quick. From Netadark and Omniscient up top before onto Meta. It ended up turning out incredibly well for them in the end. Unfortunately, they did die afterwards to that roam from Pyro, which was very smart as well, and a fantastic response to turn that in their favor, actually, because it ended up being a 2-for-1 ultimately. But the dive was very well calculated. Both Netadark and Omniscient knew exactly how much they could tank, and they pushed it to the limit, but they didn't quite. They didn't surpass that limit. They brought it right up to the line and just completely stopped. And that's really impressive from them. Now Infinity Law is looking for some damage onto Pyro. This is what we really need to be seeing from this Vladimir. He's getting tankier and tankier, looking for that Spirit Visage as his first item, very likely. It's pretty common. It really empowers your healing quite a lot and helps you sustain in the lane, because every time you get hit, you get a little bit of health regen plus a magic resist and actual health. Netadark incredibly low, but there is the Mega Gnar, the wallop out of the Gnar. Flash away from Meta, and that completely thwarts the dive, burning both ultimates and Meta's flash. Not quite able to deliver the damage that he needs there. He's not quite tanky enough. Now picking up the Bomby Cinder. Going to have much more formidable lane pushing. Just got quite the boost of health. We're going from Ruby Crystal to Bomby Cinder is actually pretty significant. So Omniscient now looking for a gank down bottom potentially, but walks over ward, gets pinged out immediately. So not quite going to be able to pull that off, unfortunately. Sometimes even just giving away information like that can result in objectives being taken advantage of, being found elsewhere. Unfortunately, Prince is not in the position to do that right now. Pyro getting ganked and completely deleted. It was a really good stun, but just not quite enough, as he has no flash. Only the ghost available, doesn't burn anything to try to get out of there. May have been able to ghost out pre-ghost nerfs. If you are unaware, Ghost a few patches ago got changed, so now it takes 2 seconds to ramp up to its max movement speed rather than just instantly giving you that movement speed. So it's quite a bit worse now. It's kind of actually surprising to see Pyro pick that up here over the Ignite, which is significantly more common, or I mean, heck, even a teleport or something like that maybe would have been a bit better, technically, but could just be preference here. Comfort, Meta, no, hooking the tower, trying to make this turn happen. Gets a Courage of the Colossus Shield. He's very, very tanking. Netadark now on the turret aggro, but he gets out safely. Pyro now roaming again, looking to pick up this kill onto Omniscient. Really wants it. Chaos Storm dropped, and he's not able to make it happen, unfortunately. Double flash burned. Man, if Meta had not burned his hook on the tower by accident there, that could have been completely different. Just one more shot onto either Netadark or Omniscient would have completely turned that, I feel. That would have been at least 1-for-1 in the end, and Pyro wouldn't have even had to roam up there to try and get that one back. Still not able to get it, though. Upper X, maybe stepping a little bit too far forward here as Buse dealing quite a lot of damage. Not really taking much in return. There is the culling dropped. Summoner heals on both sides. And this is really the position that Buse has put himself in now. I'm going to be a little bit critical here of Upper X's build. The pickaxe idea first is fine if that's all you have the money for, but oh, maybe hold that thought. Okay, no, we're fine. Normally you want the BF sword as your first item before you start going into attack speed, because the crit and attack speed that you get from something like the Zeal and ultimately the Rune Nons as Upper X gets caught by Pyro, and that's a great gravity field to keep Leica in the area, but the flash away is burned. Infinity Law's walking into a dangerous position here. He wants to turn this fight and take it as far as he can as Omniescent is coming in. Onto Pyro, takes him low, pins him to the wall with that cask. A flash forward from Infinity Laws. He really needs the heal, but he has no pool. He's not going to live quite long enough. Leica falls as well, and now Omniescent is the only one standing. And he has nothing left to try and turn this on its head. Disaster for Team Yuggurt as they go a little bit too deep. Now Netadark up top getting hooked into the tower. Snare up, takes a shot. Loses a pretty significant chunk of his health. But he's not quite going to go down. Not anytime soon. Whoa, Omniescent going in onto Buse as Buse and Spanky stay a little bit too long. Okay, so, meta, maybe finding Netadark here. Nope, just looking for a ward, hooked out. Doesn't want to get caught by that Black Cleaver complete Gnar already. These ganks up top paying dividends, really, for Yuggurt, keeping meta behind. And most importantly, getting this Gnar rolling, getting him ahead. He has a CS lead. He has a tower damage lead, an incredibly significant one. With nothing else happening, we're going to hop up top real quick. We see about 500 health taken off that one. But on the other side, it's almost down to half. So a very, very large difference. Almost 2,000 damage onto the red side turret as opposed to the 500 on the blue. An incredibly different situation on either side of the top lane right now, and I really feel like Prince should be kind of looking up there if they want to be salvaging it. It's very difficult to salvage a lane, and it may be deemed not worth it if meta is comfortable with just kind of sitting back and taking this beating for now and coming back later being very strong. You're not going to stop a Nautilus from really getting tanky unless he goes like, I don't know. In this case, he would probably have to go like 1 in 5 in the lane rather than just 1 in 3. He's still keeping up okay in CS. He's only down 10. He still has 8 kill. He's going to be able to provide tankiness, frontlining, CC, some amount of damage for his team in the end, regardless. So you can just deem that a lost cause and look to get this Lucian rolling, look to get this Victor rolling. But right now, it's a 1v1 in the mid lane. But how long will that last? Omniescent coming in, no flash available, but he has the cask. Pyro will be respectful enough to back away, but he walks right back in. The body slam is completely missed, and that's a stun onto Omniescent, but not before he gets the kill, and now he just walks right out of there. Disrespect from Pyro. It looked like he was going to respect that properly, not take that risk. But then he goes for it, dies for it. Maybe not the best decision we've seen from Pyro this game, but now this top lane roam is absolutely huge. Prince looking for the engage, has to try to break this, but the body slam out of the air on the elastic slingshot is huge. Let's bounce in the middle of 3, but how much does it really matter? Meta is the only one here to assist, and he gets knocked into the wall. Prince should be looking to jump out of here, not jump back in, as they are able to disengage, but they lose the first turret of the game on the side of Wild Jokers. And all of a sudden, that little bit of a misstep from Pyro looks like it may have cost Wild Jokers pretty hugely. Is Meta not quite able to control this top lane like he wants to on this Nautilus? Not into the Gnar. It's a very difficult matchup. Infinity Law is looking for a dive here. Potentially Pyro in the wings. They don't know that he's here. Oh, he's going to spot them out. They're going to spot him. But it is 5 members stacked down bottom right now. As this bot tier 1 will also fall from the side of Wild Jokers. Yuggurt now looking for this dragon. It's an Ocean Drake, very valuable to get early on, but it is 20 minutes into this game already, so maybe not as valuable as it once was, and well, they decide against it. They're a little bit too afraid of balling up versus the likes of the Victor. This dragon is going to reset for now, but it doesn't fully reset quite yet. The dance around this fight is very interesting as Meganar falls. Neither of these teams really want to get into a choke because they know that the other has very good CC and AoE damage. Netadark taking a lot by walking up there, but Meta now a bit caught out in the front. These Caitlyn traps are coming down as zoning tools, and they will be delivering on that front. But this dragon is not resetting, and this is the focus right now. Omniescent looking for a flank. Gets pinged, though, as the rest of his team is still on the dragon, and it gets stolen away by Pyro, actually, and there's the Chaos Storm dropped in the middle. Netadark gets the ultimate, but it's only on to 2, and no stuns to be found. Zac popped in the middle, Meta trying to do what he can. Pyro knocked back in with the cask, and he's not quite going to fall. No one really going down here on either side, but all of a sudden it just explodes. What a great steal from Pyro, and it only cost them 2 for their trouble, but that is still a 2 for none. And it's still building that gold lead ever so slightly into the favor of Team Yuggurt, in spite of them losing that dragon. The dragon momentum can come into play, very much so, in the near future, as this game doesn't seem to be going anywhere particularly quickly. But that was such a close fight on both sides. So many flashes burned, so many members walking away, blinking health bars across the board for Yuggurt, and similarly so on the side of Wild Jokers, even though a few of them fell. The ones that didn't were all very low. Nice edge. Omniescent looking for another gank onto Meta. He has no cask, so this may not quite work out, but Meta is completely caught, and he just has no tools left in the toolbox there. And there's just nothing left for him. No flash available, had to burn it in the last fight. No hook left, already used it. No shield, top tier 1. Now the focus for Yuggurt, and they just have significantly better objective control, it feels, as no turrets have fallen, obviously, for the side of Wild Jokers quite yet. And now these roams and the grouping is really coming through, and they've done it for all 3 outer turrets now. And that bodes incredibly well, I feel, for Yuggurt going into the rest of this game and into the rest of this best of 2. Because on paper, it may not be optimal to group for every single turret, but if you can do that very well, get kills while doing it, and also you're basically guaranteeing yourself the turret, I think that's completely fine, and that means that you have that sort of communication structure down for later on in the game. You are prepared and ready, you're comfortable with making that decision, going for tier 2s, tier 3s, potentially, as Prince was looking for an engage in the bottom tribe rush. Now the cask finding him. That's a great block on to that Caitlyn ultimate from Spanky, and the redemption coming through, but it's simply not enough as 3 members fall across the board for Wild Jokers, and Buse and Meta have to run away. Meta only just showing up as that fight ended. Now for the first time being spotted out and pinged away. He has to back off, play it safe. He's not that huge tanky Nautilus that doesn't care about any members right now. Upper X, oh, playing with fire there, but very far off on that hook. That's a good Nautilus ult, but there's just simply no follow-up as Netadark has that Black Cleaver, has that red buff for that chase. And well, I see some mention of it in the chat, at least from a few minutes ago, about no Doran's Ring on Nautilus, and honestly, I feel like that's kind of a preference thing. Into the Gnar, I could see that being kind of dicey. Ultimately, we may have wanted to see that in the end anyway, though. Regardless of really how you feel about it, it does offer quite a lot more damage for that Nautilus in his first phase of the lane, and if it's a big if Meta was able to find fights onto Netadark while having that extra damage, he could have found a kill, but the ganks came through, I think, way too early to really justify that. it's a really big if, and with how that top lane ended up unfolding, I just don't think that it would have really done all that much for him in the end, unfortunately. But yeah, I think it kind of comes down to preference, especially right now. It was a thing for quite a while, pretty often, going for either one or even two Doran's rings in some cases, but this game, not sure if that was quite right for it. Doran's shield was probably significantly better for him while taking that poke, not really looking to go for those fights. But right now, in this moment, 25 minutes into the game, 25 and a half about, actually, 1 minute on this dragon. If we hop over to that pit real quick, as we see Wild Jokers, or rather, Team Yuggurt getting some vision control around that dragon. We see where their vision control is right now if we look on the map. Their vision on the side of Yuggurt is all around Baron, and they know that they have the gold advantage here. They know that they have the map control advantage, and that they can comfortably, by taking all of these outer turrets, particularly the mid and top ones, they can control this river on the top side very, very comfortably. And look at the amount of vision that's here, really. It's just kind of absurd. They have 3 or 4 wards down. Oh, we might see a potential pick onto upper X, but no. It's not quite going to come through. Is that Whimsy, rather, not Polymorph. Pays off quite a bit. Gets upper X out of there pretty safely. But yeah, we see the shallow vision around the Baron. Yuggurt knows where they need to control the map right now over there. But on the opposite side, they know that they own this dragon. If they can get control of it, it's significantly easier for them to take. And they have that bot lane pushing in very, very far, very safely. So they need to support that bot lane play, but they also want to support this dragon play where they're not worried so much about having vision around the dragon itself, because they don't need to know whether the dragon is being taken. They know that it's not, basically, because everybody is just going to be farming in the lane. They can afford to go for that aggressive warding. It keeps their bot lane safe. It gives them the information that they want to be able to make the decisive call on this dragon without them having to invest quite as much as they have up around the Baron, where that was 3 to 4 wards up there at any given time, which they actually do need to get back now. All those wards have fallen. Their control ward was picked off, and there's a couple wards there, here and there, for the side of Wild Jokers, and that's really what you don't want to happen to some extent if you can help it. You need to make sure that you have that control if you really want to strangle out the opposing team and be able to take those objectives very safely. Now, looking forward in this game, it is 11-6, or looking at the moment rather, it's about an 8,000 gold lead for the side of Team Yuggurt on the blue. So this is looking very, very good for them at the moment. The kills and towers are fairly close. However, a good bit of this can kind of fall apart for them in just a couple fights. Maybe even just one. If someone gets picked off at a bad time, Omniscient could be that person. But I mean, he is a very tanky Gragas at the moment. He has that Lulu in the wings, and he's just kind of go and walk all that off, go heal up by spamming a few spells, burning that passive of his. As Infinity Walls looking for some damage. Oh, Spanky taken incredibly low. Actually has to kind of limp away there. Good block on that ace in the hole. Prince in a very dicey position now. These Caitlyn traps coming down to try to keep Wild Jokers contained. A pretty hefty health trade from the side of Pyro and Upper X, but the damage on this turret cannot be ignored. Even with just a single minion, they're able to get 2-3 autos out from that Caitlyn with the red buff, which applies to turrets. So a pretty decent chunk of damage in the end. Prince really needs to find an engage. Meta needs to help with that too, but Pyro on the bot side having to respond to this Gnar split push is pretty important. There's vision on both sides here of the wall, from both sides as well. Now the siege is actually not too bad in the end for the side of Wild Jokers, because they are the ones with the Ocean Drake. So if they take damage, they can sit back for a few seconds, heal most of that up pretty quickly. But all of a sudden, it just completely breaks open as the jungle and top laners both make commitments here. The Redemption coming down on the back line to heal everyone up. And that's one ult burned for a flash. There were just very few tools left there for Wild Jokers in the end. And now this top tier 2 is going to be the focus, and there's a much superior setup here for Yuggurt. So they get this top tier 2 pretty comfortably, only takes 1 or 2 waves. Infinity's looking for the fight here. The culling coming down, breaking the armor of Netadark, making him take significantly more damage. He popped into Mega Gnar. He has the Gnar available, but there's a great depth charge across the entire lineup of Yuggurt. Buse is in a pretty dicey spot as Netadark flashes in for the Gnar into the wall. Omniscient on the backside. Buse can still get some damage onto him, though. Breaks the armor again with that Black Cleaver. So Upper X maybe walked a little bit too far forward. He gets hooked up by the Nautilus, surely enough, and now he has to run for his life. The gravity well comes down, and it's enough to take him down, but not before he gets a good fight for himself. Buse popping off in this fight, trying to deal whatever damage he can. He has very little left, but that's a triple kill off with the piercing light. Now Omniscient is the only one left alive. Oh, there's still so much that they really, really want this kill. Omniscient in a really crazy spot. He pops the Courage of the Colossus, but that's the snare coming down. Meta living with a sliver of health underneath that shield of his. Prince is going to be able to tank this up for a good while, though. That was really greedy from Omniscient to go back in with that body slam. What a fight for Wild Jokers, though. That's huge for them. They break the siege, and unfortunately don't get any objectives for it, but that bodes very, very well if Buse is able to have another fight like that. If those mistakes were pretty small, very important, and incredibly impactful mistakes that ended up costing Yuggurt quite a lot of pressure there, but nonetheless, those are mistakes that can easily happen again as this game goes on, as the pressure mounts, as this game becomes heavier and heavier on the minds of Yuggurt, as they really want to close it out. They felt like they had this in the bag, and they played pretty confidently in the top side, and they positioned very confidently too, but it just fell apart for them all of a sudden. It's not nearly over yet, and the gold lead has barely shifted. It's now up to 10,000 gold in the favor of Yuggurt. However, those types of kills, again, to reiterate, keep it pretty straightforward summary. Those mistakes can happen again. Those types of plays from Buse can happen again. Pyro can get better fights than that. There can be better engages, better picks like this onto Upper X. It could be it, but that's a hook onto the backline. The redemption is huge, but Prince gets popped. Pyro heals up almost everything immediately. Netadark jumping into the backline with the Mega Gnar. That's a huge Gnar onto all of the carries. Pyro gets popped, and Buse is all that's left. All of a sudden, everything turns to dust for Team Wild Jokers. And that is a hugely decisive fight for Yuggurt. I hyped up the fact that those fights for Wild Jokers could keep happening. They could find good fights like that, but if Yuggurt just doesn't get too cocky, it really is pretty cut and dry for them in the end, it appears. They make it happen oh so quickly, just a matter of seconds. 15-20 seconds on that fight is all it takes as they break that mid-inhib. They get the tower, they get the inhibitor itself, and now they fall back for Baron, still very, very healthy, not a member dying. Red buff steal on the way out as well. And man, this is really really good all of a sudden for Yuggurt. Prince can get in to get the steal, but nope, Netadark says not today. Just hitting him in the head with that wallop, knocking him out of the elastic slingshot. Not gonna happen, unfortunately. No 50-50 And, I mean, it was barely even a 50-50, even if the Elastic Slingshot hadn't been canceled, because Omni-Essence is only 2 levels off of max smite right now. He is sitting very comfortably at level 16, 900 damage on his smite, as opposed to the 760 from Prince. It is a 3-level disadvantage for the jungler on the side of Wild Jokers. And glancing over at chat, I see a mention of the farm, and the farm is so huge as well. 70 CS in the jungle is massive. The XP advantage on its own is destructive enough, honestly. But that is certainly something else. The kill scores as well, very much different. 5, 1, and 12 to 1, 3, and 2. What a game from Yuggurt. They slipped a little bit just a few moments ago in that top lane. But that's really one of the only signs of weakness that they've shown in the mid to late game here. They've gotten both dragons since they lost that first one. Elder's coming up next. They've taken good fights. They found good picks. Separated the tanks from the rest of the team. They've been very decisive in getting objectives. They've gotten those towers purely off of grouping up very well and pressuring the weak points of the map that Wild Jokers have. And it's looking to carry them to at least a Game 1 victory at this point. 15,000 gold in their favor. It would take a miracle at this point. It's gone up 5,000 since even just last fight. Off of that Baron. Second inhib falls. Buse caught in the front lines. Has to back up Prince. In a bad spot. Nexus turret under fire all of a sudden, and now Yuggurt looking to take this game home. There's the Gnar onto Pyro, and I don't think that there's going to be anything left here. The focus is actually on the fight rather than the Nexus. No, but Upper X says not today, not going to take that risk right now, and he just melts the Nexus. 37-05 over to Team Yuggurt. Game 1 in this best of 2. A very decisive game for them, like I just said a million different times. Few slip-ups here and there, certainly not flawless, certainly not perfect, but incredibly decisive nonetheless. It could have been a little bit faster for them maybe, but I mean, it's really hard to complain about a performance like that. But with all of that said, guys, we will be back with game number 2 in just a few moments, so be sure to stick around, as we will be throwing it to a musical break. And yeah, don't go anywhere. Game number 2 is coming up next.
Well done, my son. It's the way to save you all. But don't you think the realm's been purified? Creatures of darkness are still longing for your foe. Keep them in thrall. It's time to smite and ignite. This harvest will guide us through day
open street where shadows wander. They sweep the walls, they crawl and crawl to kiss the lights. A woman wonders where's the crowd. The clock reads night, yet she's still out. She peeks the dark and sees but black. As she walks, they creep and crawl.
They creep and crawl.
They creep and crawl.
Oh, they creep and crawl.
They creep and crawl.
They creep and crawl in the dark.
As she walks, they creep and they creep and crawl. A woman wonders where the crowd, the crowd edge, she's still out. She peeks to the door and sees but black. As she walks, they creep and crawl.
They creep and crawl.
They creep and crawl.
Oh, they creep and crawl.
They creep and crawl.
They creep and crawl in the dark.
As she walks, they creep and they creep and as she walks, they creep and they creep and crawl. As she walks, they creep and crawl. Down Hopping Street, where shadows wander. They sweep the walls, they crawl and crawl to kiss the lights. A woman wonders where's the crowd. The clock reads night, yet she's still out. She peeks the dark and sees but black. As she walks, they creep and
All of your wind has gone, and all of the paths you've drawn have sunk to the ocean sand where no one can see. You stand, don't let the dark embrace, cower the dreams you chase under the rust and blood. Don't let yourself give up.
Alright guys, we are back once again. Game number 2 between Team Yuggurt and Team Wild Jokers. The teams have now swapped sides, and some of these bands have switched up as well. But the order of Champ Select and actually playing on the Rift has not changed, as here we are opening up with the picks and bans. So, getting in here, we have got even more jungle focus, with Elise, Gragas, Rengar, and Graves taken off the table this time. Vladimir is a new addition as well, and Lulu, the final ban, probably should have been there last time, but what are you gonna do? But anyway, that is the past now. We're not going to focus on that. Spanky looking to pick up his Karma again, potentially. And yeah, he will be falling back onto that comfort pick again. So some of the differences from last time, Katarina, Kog'Maw, and Talon are all open since last time. So we could see some pretty interesting picks here. And the Talon and Katarina were on different sides, so we could very well be seeing a Talon pick for Pyro here. We could very well be seeing a Katarina for Infinity Lulls. I mean, it's really pretty open in the end, pretty open-ended to what we're going to see at this point. We do wait pretty intently for these picks to come through. I mean, really no reason to not pick up the Caitlyn again. Something worth noting is that there is a different ADC on the side of Wild Jokers this time. On the side of Yuggurt, rather. They were using a substitute ADC. In the last game, Upper X was a sub to stand in for the regular ADC, so Haku is their usual ADC, so we will be seeing him play this time. So he has a slightly different champion pool. I did pull them both up. He favors the Caitlyn even more than Upper X does, so he has significantly more games. For example, there are 6 ADCs that each of these players play roughly in solo queue or have this season. Caitlyn is number 5 out of 6 for Upper X, but number 1 out of 6 for the side of Haku. So, for the player of Haku, rather. So, this is something that he is significantly more comfortable on, at least going off of his stats in this season. It seems to be something that he favors much, much more than even Upper X does. We see a Leona locked in to go along with a Jarvan and Zillion as well. Zillion into Zed in the mid lane. This is going to be very, very interesting. And I'm focusing so much on this Caitlyn, completely missed the fact that the Kha'Zix was locked in on the side of Wild Jokers. So that's a very different pick for them this time, but very, very strong, I feel like, in the end. So I am very interested to see how this ends up panning out overall. Oh man, Kale and Ezreal locked in as well. Sorry, looked away for just a moment. Very interesting picks here. So Ezreal, somebody that's been in the meta for a little while now. He's pretty strong, I feel. I really like playing him personally. He has an incredible amount of power in the right hands, and if Views was any measure in the last game on that Lucian, Ezreal plays kind of similarly, very outplay-oriented, very mobile, all over the fight all at once, getting in, dealing damage, getting out, kiting away. They have quite a few of the same functions, especially in the late game. Ezreal can even deal measurable damage in comparison to Lucian. It's pretty crazy, honestly, how much damage Ezreal can end up doing. Matched up with this Kale in the top lane from meta, something that he is very comfortable on. His #1 played champion in this season. So, and looking at his match history, a lot of his recent games have been Kale in flex queue, very likely with his team. So this is incredibly interesting to see. I'm going to be incredibly interested to see how this ends up turning out into the Gnar. It's a lot of this, at least one of the same picks on the side of Yuggurt. They ended up changing quite a lot this time, but they have two of the same two anchors to keep them familiar, to keep them going with that momentum that they gained from the last game. Very, very interested to see how this ends up working out for them with such a different composition. This is what I like to see from teams, though. It gets kind of boring sometimes when you end up casting a team in 2 or 3 games and they only pick the same types of comps every single time. They just play it very safe. I like to see it when a team crushes and then pushes themselves. I like to see it when they don't just play a poke composition 3 times in a row or 2 times in a row. I like to see it when a team just doesn't play the same types of champions every game. Because it speaks to the diversity of the team and the quality of the coach to push their players, to want to push their players in the direction, to be able to push their players in different directions, and diversify even the smallest of champion pools. It can be incredibly important. We've got a Revive now versus an Invincibility Ultimate. I am very, very interested to see how this pans out, but none of what I said matters until we see what happens when we get on the Rift, guys. So we will be throwing it over to a very short break, and we will be back when we load on to the Rift for game number 2 between Team Yuggurt and Team Wild Jokers. Don't go anywhere.
And all these steps that we take are leading us far away. And all these years are passing each day. Since then we are far away from where we were. We did what we could. We're not years away from where we stood. The road goes on far from it all.
Pretty much a perfect time to end that song as we have made it onto the Rift, and I heard spam pings. I didn't see where they were going. Evidently, Yuggurt really wants to go onto the enemy fountain. Well, you might see them fulfill that dream here. Potentially. Say 3-stack a bush. Could be.
Seconds until minions spawn.
Okay. 3 stacking a bush. 2, 3 actually, very formidable. Two very formidable level 1 champions here in the Zillion and Leona, dealing quite a lot of damage, and CC bringing a lot of that to the table, even just at level 1. And Jarvan, I mean, can deal a very considerable amount as well, especially when proccing that sunlight. So, we will not be seeing anyone face check that bush, unfortunately. As we carry on with the regularly scheduled jungle leashes here, it seems. Nobody really taking any huge risks early on. So we will be seeing identical jungle starts, just teams flipping sides. Everybody doing the same thing, though. Well, it will be interesting to see if Yuggurt is able to get the same level 2 advantage this time that they did last. As we do see that coming through a bit here for meta in the top lane. No, it looks like the lane is just going to go even instead. The Relic Shield will help to shove this in a little bit more. But ultimately, it looks like it's going to be pretty even in the end, while meta is just kind of crushing it top lane right now, it seems. 6-2 in CS. Spanky walking up. Whoa, okay. A little bit of a lag spike there for some reason, but oh, Haku taking a lot of damage from the inner flame. Empowered as well. Oh, we've seen this story before. We've seen this clash of junglers. Omniscient not taking the good side of the trade this time, however, is Prince now a bit caught out. Infinity now all alone, has nothing left, flashed away, but only burns a little bit further up the river. And that's huge, 2-0 out of nowhere, really, for Wild Jokers. What a great response. I mean, Omniscient read that really well last time, and I mean, they clashed exactly the same way in about the same spot as we see Haku take an incredibly low down bottom. Oh, Leica walking up, looking to get the damage down, snared up, flash forward from Spanky, and that's going to take down Haku. And that was absolutely everything burned. Almost on the side, actually. Whoa, Spanky now caught out under tower. He is certainly going to fall here. It's just a matter of when. No, they can't get it. And now Leica gets turned around on. Disaster for Team Yuggurt all of a sudden. In the last 2 minutes, they've lost 4 kills. Every lane is lopsided right now in the favor of Wild Jokers, and this is looking fantastic for them. What a turnaround already. I don't want to get too excited because it's only 4 minutes in and everything can change very quickly. Heck, even very slowly. There's still so much time left in this game. It's only 4 minutes in. But this is looking incredibly different for Wild Jokers as everything goes wrong for the side of Team Yuggurt. Take a little bit of a breather here. Going down the line with CS, it's a 10 CS lead in the bottom lane, 10 CS lead in the top lane, and I mean, that's going to change very quickly, I feel. And this mid lane even, just a bit of a lead for Pyro in the case of minions. He is winning in the case of kills, though. Oh, he walked onto that bomb there. Got hit up by that Deathfire touch, nearly got stunned. Not quite getting stunned in the end, but pretty close to it. And Infinity Lulls has no flash, nothing available actually at all, not even a stun. And he just gets taken down by a great gank from Prince. Just a very solid gank pathing and uses abilities very well. Really, really solid from Prince and Pyro to pull that off. They read the lane so quickly there because that was only just barely shifting in Infinity Lull's favor. They were trading back and forth. He was just barely pushing up in order to push those creeps out with the bombs. He had just barely put himself in a position to be that far up in the lane. And the instant that that happens, Prince is there, ready and waiting. Looking to make something come from it. Trying to make something out of it. Haku is level 3, and he just gets blown up by Pyro, who's already 6 and roaming down bottom with that death mark available. Buse has to tank the turret. He's in the safest position for it. Pyro going to finish that off, but Spanky's going to fall in return. Omniscient is here. But Infinity Lulls, now all alone again, has nothing available. No ultimate, no flash. Prince solos him. Whoa, Omniscient going in. What a beautiful shadow from Pyro to jump away from the flag, but it's just not enough. Now Omniscient walking into the bush. Why did he walk there? He walked right into Prince, who he knew was in the area. But he gets greedy with his escape. He thought he could just walk right out, but it is punished again. Now 9-2 in 7 minutes. A ridiculously accelerated game. Crazy plays from Wild Jokers right now. So they look to take this forward. Now looking at the CS lead, it's dead even in the top lane. That's non-existent anymore. But now it's 10 in the mid as well, and about 15 down bottom. And that's completely ignoring the fact that Pyro has 4 kills in addition to his now 20 CS lead. And the fact that there's going to be a lot of global gold coming through very soon for pretty much everyone. Honestly, Meta will be pulling ahead of Netadark if he doesn't get assistance up here, just due to the global gold that Wild Jokers will be able to pick up very soon by taking these turrets. By getting all of these kills that they're getting and getting these dragons. They've already secured the first one 12 minutes earlier, over 12 minutes earlier than in the last game. Pyro taking kind of a beating from Infinity Lulls. Infinity Lull is dealing decent damage onto Pyro, as we just saw there, and he has that ultimate to keep himself safe, so it's going to be very difficult for Pyro to really find any more kills onto the Zilean anytime soon. Oh, what really smart pathing. Pyro could have easily just jumped the wall around or rounded that corner and just instantly gone for it, but he bides his time. He's not even burning the death mark here until he absolutely needs it, and there's the snare onto Haku, and he's just getting destroyed this game. Now Leica taking a lot of damage as well, as this wave is getting proxied a little bit, and nearly double CS for Buse over his opponent. Bot turret is the first one to fall at only 9 minutes into this game, and this is the grouping that we saw from Yuggurt last game coming through on the side of Wild Jokers. It seems like they've very much warmed up all of a sudden, and they know exactly what they need to be doing. Now rotating all the way to mid. Junglers on the top side all of a sudden. There's no objectives bottom, so nobody wastes any time. There's a lot of money, 900 gold on this Ezreal, but he's not able to get anything major, so he doesn't go back. Nobody's willing to waste time here, but Pyro maybe going down. Netadark hopping forward, popping into the Mega Gnar, and that's a huge Gnar into the wall. Now getting a Zilean ult as well. The Chrono Shift will keep him healthy, but it doesn't even pop. Omniscient into the backline, picks up Pyro, picks up Prince. Infinity Lull is now running away as best he can as Meta has arrived. And Meta's just trying to do whatever he can, showing his Kale club tag, but it might just not be enough. He doesn't even get to ult. Buse is now the only member remaining, and what a chaotic fight, but incredibly decisive from the side of Yuggurt. And now, they have a real fighting chance to get some of their gold lead back here. They're getting farm onto their carries. They're getting money across the board. Omniscient really trying to carry his team here. 5-2-1 in 10 minutes. Already has a similarly impressive, if not slightly more impressive score than anyone on the side of Wild Jokers. As Pyro looking to pop Haku here, and he does get it now. 5-2-2 on that Zed. CS lead needs to be something we keep an eye on in the jungle as well, and it's already another XP lead for Omniscient. So he's 8-7 right now, and that can accelerate very much in the future. Pyro gets stunned, and that takes out the entire wave nearly. And this Zillion is doing quite a lot of work in spite of being 1-3 right now. He's still delivering.
Forward.
Taking another breath here. 3,000 gold in the lead at 12 minutes into the game. Oh, Meta fighting with Netadark up top. The Mega Gnar drops it. Omniscient is here. He has a Cataclysm, and that is enough to pop Meta. Oh, Haku taking quite a lot of damage from Pyro. Lots of breaths to be taking this game. It's explosive action and then a little bit of nothing for a while. Just a bit of farming. Still 30 CS down is Haku from his lane opponent of Views. Oh, Prince and Spanky looking for Netadark up top. He has no Gnar available, and he gets shredded by those evolved claws. Doesn't even get a chance to go into Mega Gnar with over 80% on his rage bar. Ridiculously fast kill there from Prince. And, not to discredit Wild Jokers at all. I talked about Omniscient trying to carry his team before. Pyro and Prince are really popping off here too. And, Buse is doing very well. He has a very good CS lead. He has a good score. He hasn't died yet. The only member of his team that hasn't. But he's not really having a huge carry performance in terms of KDA at the moment. He's certainly delivering where he needs. He's doing what's required. Oh, Meta caught out. All of a sudden goes down. Oh, this fight's turning around. Omniscient going in. Pyro jumping all around this fight. Infinity going to go down as Omniscient comes back with the Chrono Shift. Dragon now picked up. Okay. Fights breaking out in the jungle, still going in the favor of Haku. Oh no, he might get dove here. Prince waiting in the wings, looking for whoever he can find. Leica is that target right now. Now, mid-turret under fire. Haku taken incredibly low, actually. Not even really sure what happened to his health bar there. Didn't really see him get hit by too much, but evidently got taken very, very low. Now Infinity is the focus. And I like that the rotation has come through. The top lane turret, actually, going to touch on that real quick, has fallen. That's why Netadark is able to roam out of his lane so comfortably for so long. Omniscient looking up top to catch out meta. Ooh, good knock up here, and this is the fight. But Omniscient not willing to take that, realizing he's going to lose in terms of DPS. Now Pyro looking for the roam, and there's the Deathmark dropped, and he just takes absolutely no damage. Thanks to the intervention, Buse caught out in the front line, stunned up, trap, everything coming through from Leica and Haku there. Now Spanky trying to fight this out all alone. Prince coming in for behind the turret though, and he's able to clean that up. Leica getting out in the end. Meta fell in the top lane meanwhile as Netadark chasing out Pyro. Looking to pick up the kill, but misses the boomerang. Not quite able to make it. Little lull in the action once again. We step back for a moment. Mid lane is the focus again, it seems. There are members having to fan out to the side lanes. Unfortunately, Meta not quite delivering as well on this kill as I really was hoping that he would. Wearing that Kale Club tag, being his most played champion, something he's spamming in Flex Q right now, especially. Not quite having a performance that I really was expecting or hoping to see from him, but I'm confident that he'll be able to deliver a little bit later on, something that he's incredibly comfortable on. Prince really deep in the enemy jungle here, kind of isolated. Just slightly from his team. They don't have a ton of control that he can really get away with this super comfortably in most situations, but Fuse taking this duel with Netadark. Oh, Prince finding Omniscient, or maybe it's the other way around as Prince loses all of his health, and there he goes down into the ground. Buse having to kite away. All of a sudden, Nard into the wall, walloped as well, and all of this whole combos coming through. Omniscient has nothing left, and the slow is going to be enough from his karma to disengage the fight. But now Pyro coming around the flank. He has his Deathmark available. He's looking to hold it as long as he can. Throws the Shuriken, and that will be enough. Netadark is going to be the focus. Deathmark down. This Gnar is gone. Dragon up in a minute 30. Both of those members that we just saw fall will be up in time. In terms of objectives, those kills effectively irrelevant unless they end up getting a turret off of it. In terms of global objectives, at least, this blue buff looks like it will be stolen away nonetheless. Pyro unknowingly standing on a ward here. His Duskblade just comes back off cooldown just in time to let him kill that ward, take a little bit of money, and step away pretty comfortably there. Rift Herald now expiring. 30 seconds on this Dragon, 10 on the Baron, but I don't think we'll be seeing that anytime soon. Neither of these teams have particularly good compositions for picking that up. You can make an argument for the Ezreal once he has his Blade, but he won't be getting that for quite a while as he still does not have his Mana Immune quite yet. Top turret now falling. This is the start of another advantage all of a sudden in terms of global objectives. Oh, Buse going to get caught out here, and he has nothing left in the tank. Omniscient has to run away. Haku flashing as well. Now Prince backing out. Pyro and Spanky having to hold this mid lane. Ooh, Omniscient limping away. Mid lane siege coming through. Prince on the flank, actually. Spotting out a ward, going to clean that up. Haku is caught here. There's the death mark pop, but the chrono shift comes through just as quickly to save his life. And Pyro gets nothing for that trade there. And Haku comes back even with full health as Infinity Laws has now hit level 2 with that ultimate. Now reset that mid lane. Still have that wave pushing potential. Pyro has significantly less kill potential, but that's not going to slow him down too much as Fuse just barely misses that ult, throwing it in slightly the wrong direction. Omniscient having to limp out of this fight. Flag and drag away over the wall to safety. Not burning flash because he doesn't have it, which is nice. There's a ward right there, right in front of the control ward, but it's a little bit out of range. So not going to be able to spot that out and clean that up, unfortunately, for the side of Wild Jokers. They're maintaining control throughout this game. A 5,000 gold lead still at 20 minutes. Very respectable. Only one turret up. So that means that a lot of their gold is coming from these kills, their kill spread, and a lot of their farm as well, as they're still maintaining huge leads. A 30 CS lead in the top lane, 10 in the mid, 40 in the bot lane. And I mean, even Prince is catching up in the jungle for the first time really this series. He's been down this entire game about 10 or so. And that's not really changed too much, but he's prevented it from getting much further. It's not going to be that 40 down that we saw last game. And that's also with Omniscient having even higher kill participation with fewer kills on the map. That's like 90%, 90-something percent kill participation from Omniscient, by the way. 12 out of 13 is very, very respectable in kill participation, as opposed to the 9 out of 18, so 50%. Still very good for Prince, and still pretty high. But, well, now he wants to make it one more, as Netadark is the focus. Manamune is actually picked up for Muse finally, and he already has the Mura mana. Spanky is going to get blown up by this bomb, but the fight is taking a little bit too long to start as Prince hops in, finds Haku on the backline looking for Omniscient now, but gets knocked up on the way out. The bomb coming through, or stuns rather, just from Leica, and Netadark diving in, chrono shift to save his life. Pyro still has the death mark. He pops it down, but he just gets bopped by the Jarvan. I don't think he's going to be able to pick this up. Ignite ticking, not quite going to take him down. True Shot Barrage still a few seconds out. I think Omniscient will be able to escape with his life here. Does seem to be the case. Explosive fights way closer than I feel it really should be. Now 4,000 gold in the favor for Wild Jokers, and that is closing fairly rapidly. It's only been 2 minutes since I mentioned a 5,000 gold lead for them. And that's purely off of kills. They still maintain their objective lead. They still have 3-0 in dragons. They're still up 2-1 in turrets. There's plenty more money to be taken on both sides of the map. But losing out in a fight like that is not something you want to be doing when you have a 4,000 or 5,000 gold lead, especially when you need to push that further and you want to be matching the performance of your opponents from the last game. It was so fast early on in this game. It was a 2,000 or 3,000 gold lead at like 10 minutes. It really has kind of stagnated. It has gone stagnant. As Meta finding Omniscient and taking the fight right to him. Delivering a very large amount of damage onto this Jarvan, and taking quite a bit back, but in a much more comfortable position, already having the Nashers and Gwynsuits picked up. Pushing ever forward, though. We see some objective focus coming down. The blue buff stolen away again. The mid turret looking like it'll finally fall here, and there it goes. Now 3-1 in turrets on the side of Wild Jokers. And that unlocks an incredible amount of map control for them as well. So the freedom that taking down the mid turret really allows is huge. And we see that top turret very close to falling as well. If we hop up there for a second, it only has 800 health left. 1 or 2 more waves will be enough for Meta to take that down. And the rotation is even coming through already from this duo lane as well. So this will certainly fall on this next wave, regardless of whether they get a pick here or not. And the rotations of everyone going top has actually not even been spotted yet. And there's a very big risk that this response is very slow, and this could be 2 turrets. Nobody's even shown for that tier 2. They're looking for picks in between. Haku caught, loses half his health, but he only flashes away. That's all it takes for him to get out alive. Redemption down and resets everything. I feel like going right for top here would have been the right decision. Looking for those picks is fine, because if you get a pick or 2, then then the enemy team is suddenly risking you going for Baron at 25-26 minutes. That's perfectly viable. But I feel like just having a better rotation there rather than looking for the picks and going for that top tier 3 would have been smarter. Maybe you don't take it down entirely, but you get about the same effect. You get a much more positive effect than just chunking out the Caitlyn, who's able to just go back to base and heal it up in a matter of seconds. You suddenly damage the turret that is a huge focus for the split pusher of Meta all of a sudden, and Meta can stick to that top side and not have to go all the way to the opposite side of the map in order to put pressure on this Baron. Suddenly you're risking an inhibitor being opened up at only 25 minutes by a single member. I think that was the much better decision. But it seems like the strategy kind of varied. Meta's pushing top, and everyone else was waiting for picks. I'm sure it seemed like it was pretty well communicated nonetheless, regardless of it being kind of a double-sided, a two-headed play. Oh, Meta actually having a flash away there from the solar flare. Good idea. Oh, Prince just walking right up to Haku. There's nothing left for him to do. Everyone is bottom side, in fact, and this mid turret now pushed out. Oh, actually, Meta finding Omniscient and Infinity Laws in the bottom jungle, but this is completely fine. The Kayle ult is big enough, it lasts long enough that it slows them down by a few seconds, and this Baron is already gone by the time they even get here. It could be a 50-50. Omniscient still have the smite advantage, but he's not able to get close enough in time. This could be a big turn either way. The Baron is picked up now. 4 buffs, only 3 buffs remaining now. Buse kiting for his life. Nard into the wall as Pyro dives in. No, Buse goes down on the backside. Pyro falls as well, and now Spanky is the focus. I don't think he's going to get out of here. Will not be the case, and that's a Baron throw all of a sudden for the Wild Jokers. Now this top tier 2 is going to fall away, as they're just not able to get out quick enough. They favored the fight more than the escape, and so they get the gold from the Baron, but they get nothing else. There's no power play to be found. They don't have any buffs left, and now this puts them in a fairly dire position, I feel, because they're still they made that huge risk. They took that huge risk. They made that big play, and they lose everyone for it. They lose a turret for it, and now suddenly they can't push in any more decisively than they have been, and that gold lead remains the same, and they even lose the dragon as well. All of a sudden Team Wild Jokers as a whole is on the back foot, and they really need to pull something together here. They need to get something big while these back timers are coming through if they can. But I don't think they're really going to have time. The sufficient control is meaning less and less as it's focused around objectives, but no objectives remain for another 6-7 minutes. And the Elder will not quite be the next one to come up, and that's going to be a Mountain Drake that we'll see for the 5th elemental of the game. We just missed it by a few seconds. Incredibly close game still, in spite of the 4,000 gold lead at this point. That really says something, I think, about Yuggurt, almost more than anything, because they got a lead similar, even bigger than what Wild Jokers had last game. This game, wow. Yuggurt had a bigger lead than last game than Wild Jokers ever did this game, and they were a little bit slow. But from now, it was only 7 minutes. This was around the time where they had that one fight that really broke it. This time, Wild Jokers have had a few fights that have almost broken it. They're sitting at 5,000 gold in the lead now. It's fluctuating up and down thanks to all of the minions. But they don't have the same vision control. They don't have the same decisiveness to make a big play and then go for the Baron. They make a small play and then they try to go for the Baron, and I think that was a good choice, but they didn't need to take the fight, but they did. If they had just been a second or two quicker, that could have been completely different. They may not have lost anyone, or they may have lost one or two people, which still wouldn't have been great, but that's better than losing all 5. And they only had 4 buffs from the start. It just fell away one by one so quickly. But now, in the moment, 5,000 gold in the lead. Meta still looking for a big push down bottom, burning a lot of the health of Omniscient in just a matter of seconds. As Meta is just shredding this turret with his Winsu's fully stacked, and Haku takes a beating as well, and that's a solar flare dropped, looking to turn this around. Haku cannot walk up though. That's incredibly dangerous. Pyro flashing in. There's the death mark drop. He gets exhausted. He's not able to finalize it, and he ends up getting nothing for it. Spanky now all alone here in the backline, chased in to the enemy team by Netadark, but that's 2 tier 2 turrets going down in return for 2 kills. And that is the type of lead, that's the type of trade you're looking to make at this point. 6,000 gold in the lead now. We're Wild Jokers, and they just need to keep it going. Look at the attack speed of Meta now. 320 farm at 32 minutes. He's at that 10 CS per minute breakpoint. In spite of his score being 0-5-1, it doesn't look like he's really done all that much this game, and all things considered, he really hasn't in terms of fights. But he's been farming incredibly well. He's almost Flame Horizoned his opponent. 100 CS, almost 100 CS in the lead, more than anyone else on the map by a massive margin. And he's able to turn that into 4 completed items at 32 minutes in spite of not having a single kill and only 1 assist. That is impressive. Netadark has a lot of work to do to catch up in spite of his fantastic plays in terms of items to meta here. And he's already at 2 items, nearly 3. Yeah, make it 3 right now. But he's still an entire item behind, or about half an item behind, in spite of his great kill score. And he still has not completed a full magic resist item, which means that he can't really stand off. He can't really stand opposed to meta too much in a 1v1, because he's just going to get completely shredded still, losing the very little MR that he has on the base of his champion, on his runes and masteries, and on that only the Spectre's Cal at the moment. He has a lot of work to do in order to be able to even withstand the damage of this Kale, and even then it might be a little bit too late, because that Wit's End also shreds magic resist, and he has the Gwinsus and Runons and Nashers. He's just stacking attack speed on attack speed, and he's going to be shredding your MR in a matter of seconds, stacking all of those things up. And he might be, well, he is separated from his team here. It's a mystery as to how much that really matters, though, as he is able to regroup. Infinity Law is incredibly low. Prince makes it happen. No Chrono Shift drop. Greedy from Infinity Laws. Is Prince is likely going to drop on the backside here? Quite possibly. The trap is under his feet in the GA, and the intervention not quite able to come through. Pyro gets popped in the backline. Now Meta is the only one dealing any damage. Buse jumps the wall, but he has nothing really left. Meta's just standing here tanking everyone, though. And 4 members fall versus the 3 on the side of Wild Jokers, and now it's only Omniscience left, and he is going to go down to Buse here, guaranteed. There it is. Spanky actually picked it up in the end. Meta just stood his ground and tanked absolutely everyone. Now picking up a Guardian Angel for himself as well. What a fight from the side of Wild Jokers, and now they're going to be able to break this inhibitor turret in the mid lane, and they're going to get this inhibitor mid as well. Infinity walking up, but he's got to play it safe. Got to play it very, very safe. Because he could just very easily get popped, have to burn that chrono shift again, and now suddenly everything in that span of time has come back up. The Baron is available. There's still 2 members down, with the jungler being the last casualty of that fight at level 17, the highest in the game. Oh no, nearly the highest in the game. Meta is actually already level 18, correction. But with the jungler still being down for 5 more seconds, this dragon, this Baron, is going to melt. And it is very close. Prince didn't even get to smite that. Incredibly dangerous in the end. But this time it pays off for Wild Jokers. There's no Baron throw to be seen. And now they got to rush to this dragon if they really want to be able to contest that. They don't want to only be up 3-2. They'd much rather be up 4-1 in dragons. Whoa, Prince jumping on to Infinity all alone. He knows that he's alone in that situation. They've got the Scryer's Bloom, though, for the vision here. They have all the information they could need. They see this trap line through and through. They're able to get in onto that dragon. They push away Team Yuggurt. And this is looking like a very decisive 1-1, but we'll have to see Pyro looking for some aggression on to Infinity, but he's not able to find any openings. He was looking to make a play happen. Not able to find it, though. Got it. Just at this point, all they have to do is grab this turret bottom, grab this wave bottom rather, and then they can go for this turret. They can go for this inhibitor. Pyro. Okay, just troll recalling there. Just wants to see his whole recall animation in about 3 seconds. As that's a great two-shot barrage, actually. Really smart to try to slow down that push up top. Meta gets stunned, but it's just not enough as he drops the intervention right on himself. He has the Guardian Angel as well. Pyro onto the backline. Chrono Shift forced onto the Zillion himself. Buse untouched virtually in the backline. Meta is the complete focus here. They don't want him to face tank everything again, but Buse is just popping off again. Omniscient on the side. Can't deal with Prince alone, and this turret is the focus now. Haku incredibly low. Going to get taken down here in just a moment. It's just one Mystic shot to take him down, but nobody is aiming at him. Infinity now in an awful position, and the Nexus is the focus. The Nexus turret specifically, Buse trying to make something happen. The redemption comes through from the enemy team, actually trying to finish off Prince, but they're not able to do it, and this whole game has to reset. We will see at least one more fight here, ladies and gentlemen. What a game number 2, and it's only 38 minutes in. The last game was 37, and it was kind of long. This one's going even further, but it's fairly early on. There's still a lot of room for this game to shift. And it's 28-27 in the favor of the losing team right now, which is absolutely ridiculous. And now I like the decisiveness, the cleanliness of Wild Jokers here. They make the decision to go on the top side. They know what the easiest thing, safest thing for them to take is, and that is going to be the top inhibitor. As simple and straightforward as it may sound to a good bit of you, maybe all of you, watching it right now, especially if you play in L5s, even if you just play ranked, it doesn't even matter. Regardless, as simple as it may sound, it's just take all 3 inhibs. That's the safest thing you can do. A lot of teams will get greedy and decide to not go for that, or they'd rather end earlier due to compositional risks or a risk with the other team just being really good. They don't want to take that leap, though, on the side of Wild Jokers. Their Baron buff does wear off, however, as that bot push did take them quite a while. It took them a little bit to get all those minions in a row and get those to the turret through that inhib, so they've got nothing to assist them on this push. Infinity now has to be pushed out, though, but Haku is the focus. Chrono Shift down, and that will nullify the death mark. But that means Infinity has to back off, and that means there's nothing left to save this Caitlyn. If anyone else jumps on him, Pyro popped in the backline. Now Prince in a terrible spot, knocked into the Cataclysm, trapped up, net down as well. Meta has arrived and has the ultimate. There's the intervention onto the solar flare, and that keeps Prince alive for a bit longer. He's able to get out. The first Nexus turret has fallen, and the minions waves are massive. Now this top inhib is going to be broken here. At least the turret. There's still an opportunity for an engagement Leica is looking for, but not quite able to find it. As that's a flash burn from Buse. He does not want to get caught out. If he gets caught out, there's nothing left to save him. But here he is overstepping quite a bit. He doesn't even get into the redemption either. This is incredibly dangerous. All of a sudden, he dashes forward with the arcane shift, and he's trying to kite this out, and he's doing a fantastic job of it, but he gets popped by the bombs. Meta now has to be the saving grace of this team, popping Leica. And now Haku is the focus. Infinity into the Chrono Shift up on the top side of the base. All 3 inhibitors gone. A minute and a half on the Baron, minute 15 on Elder. If Wild Jokers really want to take a break here, then they can just step back for a moment. They can just look for those objectives, but it looks like they want to end the game right here, right now. Omniscient is the focus right now. There's just not nearly enough damage coming through him from Haku as Prince and Pyro on the Nexus turret. Infinity nearly getting popped. There's a death mark to finish it off as Omniscient onto Meta in the backline's last-ditch effort, but it's just not going to happen. And that is going to be it. What a game 2. Wild Jokers tied up 1-1 in this best of 2, and that's going to close the series, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy this cast. What a crazy game. Oh, man. All right, so with all that said, I want to thank you guys all so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy the cast, enjoyed the games. You've been watching Learning Fives. My name is Blaster Boy. If you want to go follow me on Twitter or something, go ahead and check that out. It's been on the stream through the whole game and all the champ selects as well. If you want to keep up with the Learning Fives program, if you're interested in joining for yourself, or you just want to come hang out with us and watch these streams every week, be sure to hit that follow button up above the stream to the top right. Or down below, you can go and find our Twitter and Discord links. And you can go and follow all of the action there. Both of those are updated incredibly regularly. Discord is the most regularly updated. So if you want to get in on some of this Showmatch action or get into the signups when the next session starts, be sure to keep an eye on those. But with all of that said, that's going to be it for this stream right now. Be sure to come back tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, so about 4 hours from now, as we will have another match coming up, another best of 2. And let me pull up the schedule real quick that I posted myself. We will have student athletes taking on Sploof and the Shenanigans coming up at 9 p.m. Eastern tonight, about 4 hours once again. So be sure to check that out when that goes live. So, yep, with all of that, I think that's gone through about everything. Thanks again for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the cast. That's going to be it from me. Be sure to come back in a few hours, and I'm running out of things to say, so I'm just repeating myself. So hope to see you guys back here in a little bit.
Waiting, it's passing around the clock.
Moving around in the shoes, this machine in motion. The clock seems to